How do you find peace of mind in these tumultuous times? And I want to read you a quote by Viktor Frankl. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way, right? These are really stressful, scary times. Like, that is just reality. If you're not anxious, if you're not feeling fear, then you're not paying attention. And for me, one way to manage that is, like Viktor Frankl said, to remember that we ultimately have agency. We always have agency. And we only lose it if we willingly give it up. For example, laws feel really real, right? Like if you think like, okay, you murder someone and then you go to prison. It's like, what other choice do you have if you murder someone than to go to prison? But ultimately, that is still your choice, is you have to comply. Of course, if you don't comply, you ultimately get killed, but that is still at some level like your choice. And it's not a great choice, but it is still our choice. There is never a time in our life where we lose our agency unless we choose to give up that agency. It doesn't mean it's a good choice or it's an easy choice. Sometimes the choice might be death or compliance. And that is the fear that the fascist state wants to put into you. They want you to make yourself comply because you fear their power, because you fear their violence. And the stress you're feeling right now is the stress that they want to put into you. It is the stress of the fear that they are putting over this entire country in order to force compliance. Do you think it's an accident that they're running around like stormtroopers with masks on their face, grabbing people in broad daylight and stuffing them into unmarked vans? Think about it. They could do this in so many other ways. These are intentional choices. These are choices designed to put fear in your heart. Here's what I want to tell you. You can simply not comply. And the consequences could be really dire, but you can decide what your lines will be and at what point you will choose to not comply. And there is a tremendous amount of power to be found in that. That is a place where you can find courage because you have taken back your power. You haven't allowed them to sow fear in your heart and to make yourself comply because of the fear that they are putting on you. I hope that makes sense, because fear is the only way tyrants can rule. There is no other mechanism that they can rule by. People choosing to comply because they fear the consequences if they don't is the only way tyrants can maintain power. The day the people decide that, no, I'm not afraid of them anymore, I will accept the consequences of non-compliance, is the day that they lose power. I personally believe that death is certainly not the worst thing in this life. We're all going to die at some point. I love that Alan Watts quote that says, it's better to live a short life full of what you love doing than to live a long life in a miserable way. Because for me, and I think for a lot of you, the fear isn't so much death. The fear is that we're going to lose control of our life somehow and end up in some miserable, terrible state of suffering that we can't get out of. But that's a lie. That is a lie. We can only end up like that if we allow it and if we give up our own power and our own agency. And the wild thing is if every American today decided, fuck it, I am not afraid of the consequences of this tyrannical regime, come what may, I'm going to stand up for my freedoms, they will lose power overnight. Fear is contagious, but courage is also contagious. If you can get to a place of courage in your heart and stand up, you can infect your neighbors, you can infect your community with your courage.